endless chambers, and strange and frightening sounds echo through the halls. Whenever candlelights flicker, where the air is deathly still, that is the time when ghosts are present, practicing their terror with ghoulish delight. Welcome, foolish mortals, to the Haunted Mansion. I am your host, your ghost host. Kindly step all the way in, please, and make room for everyone. There's no turning back now. Oh, what a way to scare everybody away from our webinar. No, I'm just kidding. Welcome to Creating the Voiceover Monster, everybody. This is a free voiceover webinar for those of you who are interested in learning more about what we do as voice actors. And this should be a fun and candid presentation. We'll go through maybe some of the scary myths that you might hear if you're trying to do your research via forums on Facebook, which is never really a great idea, especially since there's about 159 voiceover groups on Facebook, and more than 50% of them are very amateurish, and you don't always have the right chefs in the kitchen giving the good stuff away. So we'll talk a little bit more about that later, but let's roll. I want to introduce our team just real briefly here. We've all been really good friends. We're basically kind of a rock band. I think we should really go on tour, in my opinion. Maybe tour as a, well, if it was Jan's idea, it would probably be a speed metal band. I'm not sure. Trish would maybe want something maybe late 80s, early 90s. Rob, maybe heavy metal. I don't even know, but I want to introduce them one at a time. Let's meet one of our voice actors and coaches on our roster, Mr. Jan Anderson. Good evening.
Good evening. Can I be a go-go dancer in our band? I've got a tight, short sequin skirt. It'd look awesome.
Oh my God! You know what? The answer is yes, because they're always highest on the payroll.
Hey, I know what I want next Monday.
All right, let's bring in Mr. Rob Marley. Rob, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm more of a rivet head, more Nine Inch Nails, that era, that style. 90s like industrial music, that's me.
What about, isn't there a band called Impaler? Jan might know something about that.
Maybe.
I believe there is.
Let's get Trish.
And if there ain't, there ought to be.
We're good.
Yeah.
I'm going to unmute Trish. Trish, good evening.
Good evening.
All right, Trish. Now, where do you see yourself in our band? Like playing an instrument? You'd be a great drummer, even if you don't know how to play it.
I would totally love to try to play drums.
We can just learn as we go. But thank you all for being here. I'm gonna what we'll do here is I'm gonna mute you guys up until I roll over to you with a question or two. But let's start a little bit. Let's talk about scary VO myths. Don't believe everything you hear. And have
you started recording?
Yes, I have.
Okay, because I just wanted to double check. Sorry. All right, go back to doing what you're doing. Just want to make sure.
Mute your mic or you're fired. No. So those are our coaches, and between all of us, we probably have, if you tally up the years between Rob, Trish, Jan, and myself, we probably have about 80 years of experience. I got started in 1989, long before there was any internet, and had to do everything by way of the phone and snail mail and meeting with people in person. Not that we don't work that way anymore, but it's so much easier when you make contacts online. And Rob, Trish, and Jan all have lots of different experience. Jan does a lot of e-learning stuff. We all do a lot of e-learning stuff. And I do a lot of commercial e-learning and theme park promo stuff for theme parks around the country. So we all do a variety of different work. We've been in business for a very, very long time. And we're happy to have you here tonight. So let's talk about some of the scary VO myths. Don't believe everything you want to hear. This is one of my favorite ones. All you need is a USB mic and a computer. Well, a USB mic works well for coaching, podcasts, maybe practicing small jobs like IVR, on hold messages. But if you really want to have a chance to succeed at being a voice actor, especially doing bigger broadcast work like through a talent agency or something to that nature, you're going to have to upgrade some of your equipment when the time comes, an XLR mic and a preamp. And really that could be like a Rode NT1A that's powered by a Scarlett 2i8 or a 2i2. I'm going to punch Jan in for just a second here. Jan, tell us what you use from home.
Well, first of all, I would recommend that people do not get the Rode NT1A, but instead the Rode NT1. But so let me just say that
right on.
a little bit of a quality thing there. But what I use from home is I use a Scarlett 2i2 interface, and my mic is a Lewitt LCT 550. And not very well known in the voiceover community, but I got some great advice, and I'm sure glad I took it.
Yeah, no doubt. So, I mean, this is one of the, if, for example, if you go into, thank you, Jan, I'll be coming back to you a little bit later on. But if you go into like, one of those voiceover, groups on Facebook that's kind of run by amateurs, you're always going to hear people say, oh man, all you need is a USB mic and a computer. Well, I mean, if you're just going to do this as a hobby and not take yourself seriously and you're not looking to really be a professional at it, well, then yeah, any $90 USB mic's probably going to do it, but eventually you are going to have to make some upgrades. This has always been one of my favorites. You have to move to LA to be successful. Well, I think if that was true, I don't think either Jan, Rob, myself, or Trish would be on the call giving you advice today, because I'm in Minneapolis, Trish is in New Jersey, Jan is in just outside of San Francisco, kind of towards the Bay Area, and Rob is in Austin, Texas. And we all work from the comfort of our own home, doing voiceovers for all kinds of clients, not only in this country, by the way, but we now have the technology to work with clients overseas, by sending them an MP3 and getting paid via PayPal. You don't just have to find work in your town. I get a lot of calls from people. It's like, well, what do I do to get work in Jordan, Minnesota? Or, I really want to dominate the market in Madison, Wisconsin. And that's great. There's nothing wrong with working locally, but you really have to get in the mindset that you're a global voice actor. You have the capability, once, of course, you get through training, get some coaching, and you get a couple of killer demos made. You have the ability to work with anybody in not only in this country, but overseas as well. Like it says here, it's 2019. You can do voiceovers from Mars. We've got the technology. In fact, I'm going to bring in Trish, who is currently on Mars recording right now. Right, Trish?
Absolutely.
Trish,
You know me well.
this has always been one of my favorite myths, how you have to move to LA to be successful. And you've been in the New Jersey area for quite a while now, have you not?
Yeah, born and raised here. Outside of a year and a half in Dallas, Texas. My whole career has been in New Jersey. I would say for LA, that's for really people that want to do animation, if you're looking to get into like cartoons. But other than that, I even know people making a living doing cartoon voices not in LA. So,
Right.
but if you want to do any other kind, it's very, very possible from pretty well, anywhere with an internet connection.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously it helps if you want to have any shot at getting on one of those big, one of those top 5 LA agencies to actually live in LA. But most of us are making a comfortable living working, I've from Amarillo, Texas to Milwaukee, Wisconsin to Anoka, Minnesota. I mean, as long as you've got the training and the good demos and you can work from anywhere. I mean, I've taken my stuff on the road and have recorded, by a mountainside for a client for a last minute thing from my car. So thank you, Trish. I'll come back to you in just a second here. So yeah, these are all rumors that just are not true. You do not have to move to LA to be successful. Also, talent agents don't like it when I bring this up, but it's true. And it is, independent contractor work is thriving. You do not need a talent agent to be successful. I'm going to bring in Rob just for a second so he can talk a little bit about this. Now, Rob, you pretty much, you might be on a couple talent agency roster, but what percentage of your work is by way of working as an independent contractor?
I really have to answer that?
Yes, I want you to do the math for me and tell me the
Yeah,
exact
I'm on.
percentage.
I have 4 agents, and I'd say 99.99. Oh fuck, 100% is pretty much just from my efforts.
Yep.
Agencies give me the ability to get my voice out to a broader audience, but I'm just one voice of hundreds of thousands of really good voices out there with agents, and it's just a different pond to be in. So all of the work that I get is from my own hard work of finding clients.
Terrific, and really all of us are, I think, and I can speak for Jan that he may get some agency work, but we really all work mainly as independent contractor. Now, this 80% number is me personally. 80% of my annual income is freelance work, working with e-learning companies, production companies who like to work with talents direct. And honestly, I think the biggest lead in our industry that nobody seems to talk about enough is getting jobs with corporations. Inside some of these big corporations are audiovisual departments that produce some of the IVR material for the company, and also they produce training materials for their employees. This is how I got jobs at General Mills. This is how I got a gig at 3M. I go in there, I record, and this is for all the fun, rules and regulations of the company. For example, I do all the training videos for Subaru of America. So no matter if you're on the floor selling cars or you're, in the factory making the cars, it's still a rule in the company that you have to sit through so many hours of this online e-learning education and listen to my cumbersome voice take you through all of these programs. And e-learning is just a huge part of the industry. And I know that Jan, I'm going to unmute him for a minute here. Jan, what is the lengthiest e-learning assignment you've ever done? And you do a large part of e-learning, do you not?
Yeah, I do a fair amount of it. Well, in one chunk, in one assignment, like here, Jan, go. I need this done by, a couple days from now. It's been a couple hours of finished audio.
Yeah.
But ongoing clients, it's hours and hours of work, combined. I mean, it can really be very lucrative and very time consuming. And that is a great client to have.
Awesome. Yeah, this is something that's been really thriving in the industry for the last really 5 or 6 years now. Where when people thought about when people used to think voiceover, or they hear the word voice acting or voiceover, people automatically attach it to cartoon voices or commercial voices or movie trailer voices. There is so much opportunity in the corporate world doing explainer video, e-learning assignments. Voices are just everywhere, and there's about 50 different categories now of voiceover. So getting back to the myth, having a talent agency is nice, especially if you want a shot at some good regional, national spot, doing a national spot for Bank of America or Budweiser. It's going to be a little tougher putt to get that kind of work on your own, but in having an agent, you can make a lot of money doing that. So I'm not saying that, oh, don't bother with talent agencies, only work on your own. I'm just saying that you could go throughout your entire career and never get listed on one talent agency roster and still make a comfortable living doing this. This is my favorite, and I think I can speak for all of us. Rob, didn't you have this very boombox, and do you still have an REO Speedwagon cassette sitting in it?
Oh God, I still have a demo somewhere on tape, but I'm sure it's buried.
Well, here's the deal. You'll hear again in amateur forums on LinkedIn and Facebook, oh, you don't have to hire a coach or a demo producer, just record your own demo. Well, I made the mistake. You see the picture of the boombox? Well, that was my first demo. I recorded my first demo in a boombox myself. I read like newspaper clippings and just stuff that I would find in magazines, and it was just horrible. And yes, I hit play and record, and I hit pause after I was done reading one of the ads in the newspaper. And then, of course, I sent to a talent agent, and I was pretty much blacklisted from this agent for many, many years because I tried to record my own demo. That is the biggest waste of anybody's time, recording a demo and sending it to a talent agent or a producer. It's the equivalent of an actor or a model taking selfies with your iPhone and then sending them to talent agencies. And believe me, I'm friends with a lot of agents, and that happens. People send them iPhone pictures. Hey, I want to be an on-camera talent. You often get one chance to make an impression, because I'll tell you right now, talent agents, production directors, voiceover buyers, they have a really good memory for all the shit that gets sent to them. So you often really do get one chance to make an impression. You do not want to make the wrong list with them by wasting their time, sending them some awful self-produced demo. Absolutely do not do it. Talent agents and producers, like I said, have incredible memories for the really bad demos. Hey man, all it takes is a great voice. All it takes is a great voice. A good voice is important, but the delivery takes precedent. It's how you read the script. I've heard people call me with these amazing golden voices, but then when it comes to actually executing the script and showing some acting skills, it doesn't always work out very well. You have to learn the acting in voice acting, and that's where coaching comes in. A coach will help you with your delivery and your execution of the script and the marketing. Both Jan, Rob, and Trish do excellent script delivery sessions when they work with our talents, getting them to not only get out of their comfort zone, but so they don't sound like they're reading, or if they came from radio, getting them out of that announcery vibe where everything they read sounds like an urgent weather bulletin or news break. And I have to admit, I came from radio, and I had reads like that. Everything sounded like an emergency, and everything sounded the same. It was, I was punching the words too hard, and everything was urgent and read too fast. And it just, it takes more than just a good voice. Many successful voice actors don't necessarily have golden pipes, but they have some ability, some great ability, just to make those words on the page dance. It sounds kind of corny, but I mean, it's unbelievable how reading the script is more important than the actual voice itself, the way you execute that script. Pay-to-play sites are a great place to start. Now, this isn't necessarily a 100% myth. For one, you want to make sure that they're credible, because there's some out there that are, hiding 50% commissions from what you make. It's a certain company in Canada, and I hate to really put them on the spot. I'm going to bring Rob in here. Rob, we don't have to really mention some of these sites by name, but tell us about the big one in Canada and what they're doing to talents, which is absolutely 100% wrong.
Well, I mean, the whole basis of a pay-to-play site is that you're paying money for the privilege of auditioning for work. So right out the gate, you're paying $400 for the privilege of auditioning for work, and then they have an escrow fee, which is a fee that you pay to guarantee that the client is going to pay you, which I think is ridiculous. And then if the job is actually managed by one of the agency people, they charge a managed service fee, which could be up to 80% of the total project, the total cost of the project. I've heard of $3,000 jobs being listed for $600 because they're taking everything else for themselves. So I mean, triple dipping, and it's all legal. There's nothing. I mean, ethically, it's retarded, but what they're doing is legal. And that's what drives me crazy.
Yeah, and they've worked out a budget with the client, and they're not even letting you know what that budget is.
No, you're not. Usually, you're not even allowed to talk to the client or interact with the client. You're just the voice, and you're just the commodity, and that's it. Don't speak unless you're spoken to.
Exactly. Thank you, Rob. And it's important, to obviously do your research on some of these companies. Not all of them are bad. There are some good ones up there, but it's really important not to put all your eggs into the pay-to-play basket. I know so many people that just sit there from sunrise to sunset doing nothing but auditioning on pay-to-play sites. And maybe you get a few clients here and there. And if a couple of them become regular clients, great. Maybe it will be worth it. But think about the time that you spend auditioning on pay-to-play sites that you could have allocated towards marketing to talent agencies, marketing to production companies, e-learning and explainer video companies. These corporations that I talked about earlier that have in-house studios, sometimes all it takes is just a call to one of these companies. And then you're spending, all your days and hours, auditioning against, 1,500 people for a $300 job. I think you're going to go a lot further with your career if you spend most of those hours marketing you directly to voiceover buyers. So this isn't a 100% myth. I don't think pay-to-play sites are a bad place to start, but they're a bad place to start if you put all your eggs into this basket. And then don't audition. This is part of what I said. You don't necessarily have to audition for everything that hits your inbox. Try to select jobs that are a good fit for you. And if there's some real lowball ones that aren't worth the time, because you believe it, you will get a few of these where, hey, we need you to do 30 pages of narration. Our budget's $200, and that's just too low for me. I'm not going to waste my time with that kind of stuff. Another myth here: voice acting is too competitive. Oh my God, I hear this all the time. You know what? Photography, sports, on-camera acting, real estate, all of these, are 5 times as competitive as voice acting. It's important to separate yourself from the competition by doing it right and taking the proper steps. You want to separate yourself from all the people trying to do this? It's important to go through all the training, get some good coaching, and get a couple of killer demos produced. And then it's marketing like crazy, because I guarantee a lot of people in this business aren't necessarily going to do that. I'm going to bring Trish in here for a second. Trish, you'll find that sure, this industry is definitely competitive, but there's about 300 other industries that are also competitive. But I think what's reassuring to people who are A, talented, and B, passionate about doing this, a lot of people just aren't going to put in the work.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And I mean, when you got started, you and I have known each other for a very long time. I think you and I were the first ones on Twitter.
Probably somewhere probably one of the first 50 maybe.
And we were there kind of, we were making a living at it, but we were still maybe within the first few years of doing this. And we put in all the work, we paid for coaching, we had our demos done over and over again, and we just kept doing it. Now, I didn't ask you this question earlier, but you do a lot. Do you work mostly as an independent contractor? I do know that you do get some agency work, correct?
Yeah, I would say 10 to 15% yearly from income. It comes from my agents. I have about 7 of them, but I have 4 here and 3 overseas. And so yeah, between all of them though, it only adds up to 10 to 15%. It's similar to what it's right around the same as you guys. And yeah, I find most of the work myself.
Yep. You've always been a go-getter that way. In the last couple of years, what kinds of jobs do you think you've been doing more than like other kinds of jobs? What do you find yourself doing the most?
It's funny. It changes depending on what time of year it is. I do like a lot of corporate narration like earlier in the year. And then as the year kind of goes on, and I would say closer to the holidays, I do a lot of retail and commercial. And then I do a lot of car commercials like I guess early in the year also because of like President's Day and
right.
And that. So it's kind of a mixture, and honestly it kind of changes year to year. I do a lot of explainer videos, I do e-learning, I do some IVR. It really, it just I go back and forth. It doesn't. I don't really. I can't say that I have a bread and butter. One genre in particular right
Very
now.
good. And that's, it's nice. I'm going to mute you back up, Trish. But you know what? That keeps everything fresh, and it keeps you from burning out. It keeps you from burning out on this gig. I'm telling you, that's why it's such an exciting industry to be a part of, because one week is different. You might be doing an audiobook one week, maybe the next week you're doing theme park announcements or some crazy, animated character for an explainer video. Maybe the third week in the month, you might be working on a couple of commercials. It is so like unpredictable. I mean, the variety is really what what keeps a lot of us going. Now, granted, there's people that sit there and do nothing all year long other than like medical narration or nonfiction business audiobooks, and that's great if you can kind of if you don't need a lot. I mean, I'm Mr. ADD. I need variety every day of my life, which is great. But the jobs are just so different. And it certainly sounds, like Trish does a wide variety of stuff. And you're going to hear this, when you do some research, training isn't necessary, which is complete BS. Deceiving book titles that'll tell you that training isn't necessary. Would you hire a plumber who had no training? I mean, I think I think that would be fairly dangerous. Or a painter. Would you trust a painter coming over to paint your house who had who had no training? And a lot of this is mandatory for agency representation. It's easy for a coach to say that you need training, and then people are like, well, you're just trying to get people to sign up for your programs. Well, I guarantee, call every talent agent in the country and tell me what they say. They will say the exact same thing. They're sticklers for the right kind of training because they want to represent professional talents. And they're not going to represent somebody who plugs a USB mic into their laptop or their desktop and tries to do a self-made demo. Training is absolutely 1,000% mandatory for agency representation. All right, creating the voiceover monster, building your business up from scratch. Enough of these myths. Let's talk about some stuff that's necessary to get started. And we are going to take some questions. What are we looking at? It's about 7:30. We're going to try to take some questions here in about 15 minutes. Well, we can even take some live questions. If you want to ask a question, it's really easy. There's a virtual hand in the GoToWebinar widget. All you have to do is raise it, and then I will kind of scroll through our class list here and unmute your mic, and you can ask your questions live. If you're typing them in the question box, it's very difficult for me to get to those while I'm doing the presentation. I don't know if Rob's answering some of those or not. But we'd like to, have some of those questions asked live. So if you give us about 10 minutes or so here, we'll open it up for some good Q&A. But let's talk a little bit how important it is to research and study the business to, decide that it's for you. Learn all you can about how the voiceover business works. Now, we talked about all the forums on social media, and there's a flurry of them on both LinkedIn, Facebook. God, I almost said Google Plus. Is that still around? Join reputable VO groups that are run by professionals, people with a lot of experience. Because again, there's a lot of voice acting groups on Facebook where they're just kind of, they're amateurs, they're doing it for fun, but they love to give out all kinds of advice, but they're really not qualified to give this kind of advice. And like I said, Trish, Jan, Rob, and myself, we don't have the answers to everything, and you don't have to agree with everything we say. And at times, we might not even be the right fit for you if you are looking for coaching. Hopefully we are, but it doesn't always work out. But as I mentioned before, what we do have to back us up is the mileage, the years of experience. 1989 for me. Like I said, if you tally up the years, it's pretty close to like 80 years. Read blogs, listen to podcasts, but again, take everything with a grain of salt. I always say if you're getting some advice from a Facebook voiceover group, Google the person giving the advice and see what you find out. Are they an actual voice actor? I mean, do they do voiceovers? I mean, everybody's an expert on Facebook, right? Everybody's the smartest person in the room. It's become this medium of expertise where there's no servers anymore. Everybody's a chef, and that's what's happening these days on social media. Coaching practice. Coaching and skills development, that's what we help our talents do, not only with executing scripts the way that they should be read, but just general, development of business as well. Knowing how to deliver the copy, practicing like crazy. This is an integral part of success, learning the art, mastering the art. All of us, we work with our talents until they're ready come demo time. And some people after they go through a flurry of coaching sessions with us, sometimes are not ready. And then we just kind of have to keep going for a while until they are. And it's important. We'll talk about that later, but it's important if you are you've been kind of sitting on the fence for a while, you've done your research and you're finally kind of ready to take the plunge, so to speak. It's important to not only find coaches who actually do voiceovers, but it's also important to find coaches who aren't going to throw you in a recording studio after like a weekend seminar or 1 or 2 coaching sessions. It's important to work, it's important that the program works a little bit more like a mentorship. And you have to learn how to take direction from a client. You have to be able to make adjustments. They might think you're reading the script okay, but then suddenly they throw you a lot of different directions. And sometimes it's enough to make your head spin, especially if you're not used to it. And I know I'm going to bring Jan in here. Jan, you do a lot of sessions where you're directed from the client live, correct?
Yeah, usually at least a couple every week. And like you were talking about before, somebody was talking about clients in Europe. Maybe it was Trish. I have a lot of clients in Europe too, and I do a lot of live sessions early in the morning with clients in Europe.
And I think you'll find that when it's a directed session, it saves a lot of time from revisions going back and forth.
It really does, because the client hopefully has a really good idea of what they want from you. And so it's your job to be the vessel, take their direction and give it back in the best way that you can. They want you, they're on your side, they're pulling for you. So there's no reason to be super nervous or anything, even though it's hard not to be from time to time, but they want you to be at your best. And so they're listening to you to help you nail it. And then once you do, most of the time, that's it. You're done. Most of my sessions take 30 minutes or less, and bing, bang, boom, done. Then they'll usually ask you to record on your side as just a backup version, but they might have recorded on their side as well. And then you send it off to them, and along with the invoice. Thank you very much.
Perfect.
I love
now,
that.
is it always their idea to do the live directed session, or do you sometimes have to recommend it to a client who maybe just wants to work over email, and you like, what, why don't you jump on the phone for about 20 minutes to 30 minutes and you can sit on the line while I record? Do you find yourself doing it that way?
Sometimes. Most of my clients, having a directed session is just standard practice for every single project they do. However, if there are some people that I'm working with that aren't used to working with voice talents that often, I will absolutely suggest that, hey, well, because sometimes, somebody will say, I want a conversational delivery. Well, what the hell does that mean? Conversational to who? To me or to you or to somebody? I don't know what they mean. So if you get them on the phone, that way you can narrow it down really quickly, usually, and just knock it out of the park.
That's awesome. All right, thank you, Jan. And by the way, we're glad you're safe. There are a lot of fires in the area that Jan lives in, and we're happy to have him here tonight. And by the way, coaching too is coaches should help you kind of set up a voiceover business, or at least tell you like what direction do you need to go in, like what do you do when your demos are produced, what do you do while you're waiting for your demos to be produced. There's so many different things that you can be working on. Having a Google spreadsheet of prospects, prospective VO buyers ready to hit up with your demo once it's ready. That's just one of many, many examples. So, there's homework with this too. I mean, like we've said a few times now, you have to be willing to put in the work. You can't just go buy a USB mic and then expect somebody to knock on your door with a pool full of money. Hey man, we heard you got a USB mic. Well, we heard how great your voice is, and we'd like to give you $30,000. It doesn't work that way. Let's talk about professional demos. We touched on it a little bit earlier. Your coach will also let you know when it's demo time. And I mentioned this already. We like to work with our students until they're ready come demo time. And sometimes that could be 6 months. This is not a business where, you go through coaching sessions 1 week and then the next week you're in a recording studio doing the demo. I recommend, unless you have a professionally equipped studio, that all demos should be recorded in a professional studio. That's certainly what we do with our talents. And multiple demos are really becoming a must. Back when I first got started, as long as you had a commercial demo, you were pretty much set. There wasn't such a thing as really obviously, there weren't any audiobooks, or what they were called books on tape, but you pretty much had like one demo. And this is like in the latter part of the 80s. Now, there's audiobook, IVR demos, radio imaging demos. I want to bring Trish in here for a second. Trish, I know you have multiple demos. How many demos do you have?
I actually don't know the answer to that. um, I would say
Well, you've got more than one.
8. Yeah,
About
probably
eight,
8.
eight
Like, because
different
I
kind of,
just have different.
yeah, different
Mhm.
niche-based demos, correct?
Yes, I have like a medical advertising demo. I have a casino advertising demo. I have an automotive, like just car commercials, IVR commercial, regular commercials. Yeah. So I don't know, maybe 10 e-learning, if I said that already. But yeah, I have a lot.
Yep, and that's really the thank you, Trish. That's really the way the business is becoming now. It's more than just having one or two demos, because think of it, you're just like opening yourself up to so many different buyers and audiences by having these kind of what we call niche-based demos. Um, and it's important to refresh the demos every year or so. Now, I believe I'm going to bring Rob in here. Rob, I'm kind of a believer. If you're booking from your demo, if it I like the if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But it's good to kind of if it's not working exactly the way you want it to, don't you think it's good to kind of refresh the demo every year or so?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I always say that, a demo is a snapshot of what your talents were the moment you recorded them. And
Yeah.
if you're a working voiceover artist, by the time you get your demo back, your skills should have developed further than what's listed on your demo. And if you're working consistently on your voice and your delivery and your skills, and you're building your skills up, yeah, within a year, your voice, you're going to listen to your demo and go, God, I sent that out. I mean, and there's always ways that you want to be improving your voice, and a demo just is a snapshot of what your voice was in the past. So yeah, when you get new skills, it's important to refresh that demo to show off your new skills. And it's also something that you can then use as a promotional tool and say, hey, look, here's my new demo for this year. And it makes it sound like you're on top of things.
Thank you, Rob. And an on-camera talent would do the same thing. They're going to get new headshots. They've probably booked more commercials, so they have they probably need to update their reel because there's new material on there if they're in new TV spots. So it's really an ongoing process for sure. And then we're all about marketing. Trish does. We all do really good marketing sessions. Trish is kind of our marketing coach. She does a lot of marketing sessions with a lot of our students because you really can't be successful without people knowing you exist. Again, even if you go through a coaching program and you get your demo done the right way, it doesn't mean that people are going to hear it through the rumorville and come knocking on your door. Hey, I heard your voice is great. We want to hire you for a series of 13 commercials. You have to get your stuff out there. You actually have to send the demos. And some people do get stuck on this area. Maybe it's fear. There's a little trepidation, that they think they're going to fail. Let me tell you something. We all get rejected by talent agents. I've been in this business since 1989. I still get rejected from a talent agent here and there. It's a part of the business, but you can't go crying in a corner when that happens. There's thousands of e-learning companies, talent agents, production companies. You just have to keep going. One talent agent may not like you at all, but the one that you market to a couple weeks later, they might think you're the greatest, and they may even put you atop their roster. So it really, as long as you get things done the way they should be done, it almost really becomes like a numbers game. Cold calling, email marketing. I'm not a big cold calling fan. I do it, but I have a clown face every time I do it. I've had far more success just making contacts via social media, Twitter, LinkedIn, um, Facebook. Producers, talent agents, audiovisual directors, and just making contact. What I like about LinkedIn is when you connect with people, they boom, right away see what you do because what you do is right under your name on LinkedIn. I love that. Even when you make a comment, pardon me, on somebody's post, it says, Terry Daniel, voice actor, coach, demo producer. So it's like almost a form of branding. Like you're placing these little mini billboards everywhere on LinkedIn, and that really helps. And it doesn't mean you have to spam like PM. I hate getting PM spam. Hey, you need a voiceover? I'll do this. I'll do a 60-second spot for $400. And you're like, it's way too intrusive when you're sending people PMs looking for business like that. Obviously, it's important to have social media presence. It's not social media or the highway. Some people do like to still sit down and have dinner and coffee, lunch with a potential client, especially locally, which is easy to do. I'm going to bring in Jan just for a second. Oh my God, my voice! You can tell I've been on the road. My voice is starting to fail. But Jan, how do you get most of your business? I know we touched a little bit about that earlier, but since we're talking about marketing, do you do a lot of email marketing? Do you pick up the phone? You don't necessarily have to share us your secret, but what are some of the things that you do to get to bring buyers your way?
I'm an email guy. What I do typically what I do. Okay, here's my secret. Don't tell anybody. No, I actually I kind of prospect on social media, and excuse me, and I won't necessarily bug them on social media, but if I can find out what their company website is, I'll go and look there to see if I can even get a feeling if they hire voice talent. If I'm
Right.
not getting that feeling, next. I won't even bug them. I won't even reach out to them because I'm pretty damn sure that they won't even bother anyway. But for companies like you've suggested, good email marketing is great. Just
Yep.
short and sweet, well written. A lot of people don't put enough energy into how well written their email marketing is. And
you
another thing
write
that
it, you write them all out, right? You don't like use some email service where everybody's getting a template.
No. I have a template that I change to suit each recipient, but it's all sounds very warm but professional. And another thing that we haven't really talked about much and how important it is referrals. Once you
Yes.
start making a name for yourself, I get so much work off of referrals, not only from other voice talents, but from one producer telling another producer that tells another producer, and so on. She told two friends, and she told two friends, and so on, and so on, and so. It's really, it works great. It is really helpful to not only be an excellent actor, but also a great communicator, and make an impression that way, because those two things together will make a very positive impression on people, and they will be happy to recommend you to other people.
That's terrific. Now, are you willing to share your client list with the entire roster on the webinar?
Oh, yes, absolutely. And I have one client, and their name is Scrooge McFarley. And they pay hundreds of millions of dollars
Please
every
give us their
quarter.
phone number. Thank you, Jan. Yeah, the reason I brought that up, it's so funny because I saw somebody ask that in a voiceover group on Facebook. Hey, would you be willing to share your client list? Again, these are people that are kind of like lemon squeezers. They don't want to put in the work themselves. So they try to squeeze it out of other people. Well, you have to put in the work. Don't be a lemon squeezer. You're just going to be spinning your wheels for years trying to get a client list out of somebody. I thought that was the most ludicrous thing I've ever read in my life, but that's another story. So yeah, submitting demos and also following proper protocols. Talent agencies have certain protocols on how they want a demo submitted, and it's very important that you follow the instructions because so one talent agent might have a little form that you fill out right on their website, and you can kind of attach the MP3 and hit submit. Another talent agent, especially if it's local, they might want to meet you in person, interview style, and then you hand them a CD of your demo. I mean, CDs of your demo, I mean, it's becoming very obviously pretty damn close to extinct, but every once in a blue moon, you're still going to get it. You get that person asking for a CD, believe it or not, it still happens. I had that happen like 3 weeks ago, but generally an MP3 will work, but don't send a cold email with like an attached WAV file or an MP3. It's pretty much like barging into somebody's home and dropping a big box on their living room floor. Start it like what Jan does. He starts conversations. And this is what Trish does on social media. It's all about making the contacts, starting the conversations. That's how it needs to start. All right. So, if you've been kind of on the fence or doing the research on the business, there's no reason why you shouldn't get started today. Especially, if those of you that are interested in coaching in general, even if it's not necessarily with us, fourth quarter is a nice quarter to get started, because you're kind of working towards the ultimate goal, and that's to get those demos done. And if you can have a full year to market, AK 2020, getting started in coaching in October is a really good idea. Not that getting started in January is the kiss of death. I'm not trying to convey that kind of message. But, then you go through the training, and then you don't really have the demo done until like May, June, and then you only have like a half of that year. So it always makes sense to me to get started, third or fourth quarter, so you have a full year to actually, start marketing yourself and your demo. All right, so if you like what you heard, obviously there's no obligation, but if you are interested in coaching with us, do me a favor, contact me at terry@universalvoicetalent.com. It's right up on the screen there, terry@universalvoicetalent.com. Send me an email if you're interested, and then I will email you a link to our website. It's important that you kind of peruse through the website, because there's some really good information on there. And plus, the programs are different. We've got about 4 or 5 different programs. And we'll need to decide kind of which one is a good fit for you. You can also hook up with me on Facebook.com/voiceoverdude. If you want to PM me on Facebook, that's absolutely no problem at all. I don't mind it. Definitely do that. But I appreciate everybody taking the time. I do want, what time is it? Yes, it's 10 to 8. Let's take a few questions. If you have a question and you want to ask it live, all you have to do is raise the virtual hand in the GoToWebinar widget, and I will unmute your mic and you can ask us a question. So let me just kind of scroll down, and obviously if I don't get to everybody who's raising the virtual hand, don't take it personally. I'm trying to follow an agenda here. Stephen Bray, hang on a second, my friend. Stephen, good evening. Stephen, can you hear us? Stephen is not there. Stephen, come in. Stephen. Oh, he's kind of there. Hold on, Stephen. I'm going to try you one more time. I thought I heard you coming in. Stephen, let's try that one more time. All right, there is a tech glitch. That will happen once in a while doing voiceovers. Some of you have written out questions. We can certainly read some of those. If you don't, I've got Dave here, though. Hang on a minute. Dave, good evening, buddy.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, how are you, my friend?
Oh, good, it's working. There was a term that was mentioned earlier in the class here, in the webinar, and it was a term I hadn't heard before, IVR. I think Trish was the one who mentioned it, or maybe it might have been you, Terry. What does that stand for? What are those?
IVR is like on hold prompts, but since you directed to Trish, I'm going to have her answer this. And IVR stands for, I'm running off about 3 hours of sleep. Trish, refresh my memory, because I don't do a lot of IVR. What does that stand for?
I believe it's integrated voice response. It means phone prompts that kind of merge together to make words, and like the ones that kind of sound a little jilted. It's one piece put together here and there electronically, but
Terrific.
yeah, I think integrated voice response.
And do you do a lot of that kind of work? I know you do a lot of e-learning commercial work, but do you still, I mean, obviously that's still a big part of the voiceover business. I don't do a lot of it myself, but I'm always reading online about people doing all this IVR work. How much of that do you do per year?
Well, I actually just did some today. I'm the voice on the Google phone system, so
Oh,
I
terrific.
do stuff here and there for them. So yeah, they just sent me, it was only like 3 of them, but oh, sorry, interactive voice response.
Interactive.
Yeah, I just looked it up.
I know. It's like I always just say, oh, you know what? Phone prompts. When somebody asks, what does IVR stand for? I don't know, because I do e-learning and theme park promos. So that's great. And then you just actually did. Now, when you do those, do you just send them the raw voice file, or do you often mix in the music with that?
For Google specifically, no, I just send them dry audio. The ones that I do for other companies, I do, I charge a premium, but I can mix them with music and all that fun stuff. So yeah.
And that's a good way. Thank you, Trish. It's a good way to make extra money too, because if you can be more than just a voice actor and be the producer, where you're mixing, different sound effects, not necessarily for the gig that Trish has. You're not going to put sound effects, I think, on an IVR unless you're doing like a on hold at a theme park or something. But really, in the industry as a whole, and more times than not, we're really just recording our voices and sending it to somebody else to produce. Jan, how often, I find myself doing this a lot less these days, where it just feels like 95% of the time now, the client just wants the voice file because they have somebody to produce it on their end. Are you finding that?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. The more production you put on it that suits your taste, you're taking away the ability, in many cases, for the producer to strip that back and add whatever they want. So as long as you've got a very clean recording with good levels in a well-treated space,
Yep.
beautiful. That's the whole game right there.
Yeah, and we've talked about this before. You could buy the most expensive gear, and you could buy like a U87, a Grace preamp, whatnot. But if you're recording it in the middle of the street or in the middle of a gymnasium, that's not going to work.
Well, even if you record it in any untreated space, like your living room or your kitchen or any other room in your house that isn't properly treated for recording sound, most importantly voiceover, then you're really shooting yourself in the foot. It's really going to stick out like a sore thumb.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jan. All right, let's get back to our wonderful attendees. Again, if you'd like to ask a question, just raise the virtual hand in the GoToWebinar widget, and I will do my best to call upon you. It doesn't look like too many people really want to ask live questions. What is the matter with you people? No, I'm kidding. We do have some questions. I can let's go to the question bar here just for a second, because I'm sure there is a few of them in here right now, and there's quite a few here. Mostly just thank you for the webinar. All right, Nick Kramer. Well, this is going to sound very biased. My answer is going to be very biased. What reputable VO groups on social media would you recommend? Well, of course, I have to recommend my groups. Here's a couple of groups. VO Pros. It can get a little righteous in there because, again, there's a lot of chefs in the kitchen, but honestly, a lot of them are actually qualified to be there. And a lot of people do give a lot of candid advice. So that would be VO Pros. If you have experience, if you're an actual full-time voice actor, that would be a good group to join. You can look it up, Voiceover Pros. Stick that in the search box on Facebook and find that. And if you're brand new, come on over to Voiceover Camp. I'm going to stick a slide up too that'll tell you how to get there. Voiceover Camp is for generally new talents. A lot of our students are in there. Not everybody who's a member of Voiceover Camp. We don't work with everybody in there. There's a lot of people that kind of like to sit on the fence and lurk and just kind of look at the information for a while, which is fine. Nadia says, I heard it was hard to get a coach at the beginning. Well, that's actually, no, not really. That's really when you should get a coach, and it's definitely not hard to get a coach. We can certainly look at working with you too, Nadia, if you want to send me an email. It's up on the screen there. Terry at universalvoicetalent.com. Lori Gilbert is here, and she has not a question, but an observation. Another benefit of coaching that I've been experiencing is that you are helping hone what I'm already good at. Yes, that's what we do. If you've got some skill already, we'll just help you get better. Not everybody comes into this super green or super raw. And Lori, who has done a lot of radio, definitely had a lot of talent coming into this. You said there are many categories of voice talent, as I didn't know that before I started working with you. Well, thank you for the compliment, Lori. I really appreciate it. And we can try to get to the actual question. I do want to try to get maybe one more live question if we could take it. I've got Chris. Chris, hang on one second, my friend. Chris, you're gonna have to help me. How would you pronounce your last name?
Boyke.
Boyke. I knew it's spelt like that, but I didn't want to make a fool out of myself.
No worries.
I do that every morning with the rest of my coaches anyway. Do you have a question for one of us or all of us?
I do. So you had talked about treating your space to kind of help with your sound quality. Is there like a rule of thumb for how far away you should put the mic or your face from like the wall or the phone that you've got up?
Jan?
Oh, hi.
You're our recording expert.
If you can, larger spaces are easier to treat than smaller spaces. A lot of people use isolation booths like whisper rooms and that kind of thing, and they're great, but you have to treat them very individually and very specifically. Larger spaces like in a bedroom or something like that, as long as you're a couple feet away from any wall that is treated with reflective or absorbent material, and then as long as you're anywhere between 8 to 12 inches away from your mic, you'll be in pretty good shape as long as you are speaking off axis. You're not putting all your energy directly into the capsule of the microphone. I hope I'm not boring you with all this jargon, speaking in a monotone voice the way I am right now. But anyway, it's very dependent upon you and what your needs are, and everybody has to do a lot of trial and error until they find just the right recipe. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and Jan, when we do treatment sessions, you're our guy for that, and that's generally. Tell us just real briefly what you kind of go over with a student when you do one of these recording setup treatment sessions with our students.
Yeah, sure. Real briefly, if somebody is just starting out, they haven't bought any gear or anything like that, I'll walk them through a few very good but budget-friendly pieces of gear to buy: microphones, interfaces, cables, stands, that kind of thing. And then treatment for the space, it really depends upon, again, budgetary requirements, what space they'd like to treat. I'll ask for things like photographs of the space they want to use so I can get a good vision of what they're trying to achieve. And also, if they already have a studio set up and they are recording from home, I'll ask for audio files so that I can bring them into my workstation and really listen to what any potential problems might be. And then we take it from there. Every case is unique, every case is different, and I just do my best to provide recommendations and a little guidance. And usually we end up with really great results.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. We have time for one more question, and then we're going to wrap it up. I really appreciate everybody taking time out of their Thursday evening to join us here. It's been a lot of fun, and I've got Roger Coles. I thought I had Roger. Where did he go? There he is. Roger, good evening. It might take a second here for your mic to unmute. This will be our official last question here. Roger, good evening.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for taking my question.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, I'm brand new to doing this whole voiceover, voice acting thing. And I've been in graphic design world. And if you Google my name, that's what you're going to find is design. But I would love to make this shift. And as I'm starting, I don't have a demo. I know that it's good to have a professional demo. And I'm listening to you guys talk about marketing and how would I get started in putting myself out there when I don't have any kind of a demo and I'm just trying to build up? I'm just trying to get better at what I'm doing, really. I'm sending out a ton of auditions and I'm using that as practice. I don't know if that's even the right thing to do. I just need a little guidance on what's the right way to get started and start putting my name out there.
Right on. I'm gonna mute your mic here, and then I'm gonna bring Rob in here because I think Rob will be in agreement. I don't necessarily think, Rob, that throwing the auditions out is a great idea, but I don't think it's a horrible idea. But I think sometimes people put the cart before the horse when they try to get themselves out there without any coaching or training whatsoever, and they don't have a demo. I think it's really important to do all this stuff and taking the right steps.
Yeah, I mean, the auditions are good practice. You're learning how to use your equipment, you're learning how to record, and you're working on your editing skills, and you're sending the file clean. That is good practice. But when it comes to the performance side of what you're doing, you don't have any feedback. There's nobody qualified telling you, yeah, this is what you did wrong. I mean, you give it to your friends, they're going to go, it sounds great, but what do they know about voiceover? Do they know why you go up on the end of a sentence on a car commercial? Do you know, do they? I mean, there's so many things that you need feedback on your voice performance, and that's just something that you're not going to be able to do just with auditions. I mean, really, yeah, putting the cart before the horse. You need to get the skills first. I mean, everybody's focused at the demo because the demo is the big thing. You got to have a demo, But you got to have the skills. The demo shows off what your skills are. And if you don't have skills, you can spend thousands of dollars and wind up with a really crappy demo.
Yeah.
You know, you want to show off your skills and your talents as an artist. So you got to get those first, and then you get the demo, and then you get the clients, and then you get the Emmy. Or something like that.
The Emmy. Thank you, Rob. I appreciate it. That's one of my pet peeves, too, of some of these kind of amateurish, like voiceover forums on Facebook, because somebody will drop like a self-produced demo in one of these groups, and then you got all these kinds of people telling them how awesome they are when the demo is absolutely putrid and a talent agent wouldn't even dream of bringing this person in. And then people think that oh, I don't need any training now because these 11 amateurs think I rock. There's just a lot of it's easy to get kind of steered in the wrong direction if you're in some of these groups that aren't really run by professional voice actors. So, all right, it's a little bit after 8. Thank you so much. I want to thank Trish, Jan, and Rob for taking time out of their evenings to join us. I want to thank all of you who attended the webinar. And again, if you like what you heard and you've been maybe thinking about this for a while, you've done all your research and you're tired of just sitting on the fence, and you're interested in coaching with our team, we have a dynamite team. Contact me tonight, terry@universalvoicetalent.com. That email address has been on the screen for quite some time, and you can also PM me on Facebook. And also, this is our Facebook group. Again, not every member of Voiceover Camp is a student of ours. A lot of them are in there, but you can also join our group on Facebook, generally for new talents. We won't kick you out or not let you in if you have experience, but it's generally for people who are just getting started. And that's the link to it right there. It's very lengthy, facebook.com/groups/voiceovercamp. If it's easier for you, you could just type Voiceover Camp in the search box on Facebook and join us that way. But on behalf of Rob, Trish, Jan, and myself, thank you so much for joining us tonight, everybody. This webinar is being recorded, so if you came in very late, I'm going to do my best to upload it to YouTube, and I'll post it in the Voiceover Camp Facebook group, hopefully by sometime tomorrow. All right, everybody. Oh, I lost my mic. There we go. Thanks, everybody, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.